dajmo kar po hitrem postopku iti v tole debato. Malo se bomo navezali na to, kar je že gospod Donk omenjal, o tem, kako se internet fragmentira, kako se vzpostavljajo nekako ograjeni vrtički v njem, ker vemo tisti, ki ste bili malo bolj zraven, seveda še toliko boljše, ostali smo pa brali v kakšnih knjigah, kako je na začetku bila v bistvu ena ideja, vizija, pa pač eno navdušenje med temi začetniki interneta, kako bo to se spremenili, kar se tiče možnosti sodelovanja, demokratizirali vse skupaj, kako bodo padle meje in podobne stvari, kar je bilo mogoče, bomo pa tudi malo tem probali povedati, ali je bilo to malo preveč utopično vse skupaj, ali ni bilo, ampak pa kasneje, skozi leta smo videli, da se je začela stvar počasi prevešati v to, da so države vsem tudi na internetu vzpostavile meje, da pač so se vzpostavili monopoli, da pač kot v vseh drugih panogah, tukaj je mogoče še lažje, ker je doseg relativno globalen in se zdaj že res kaže na to, da bomo mogoče ob tem internetu odprtem imeli še pač neka druga področja, mogoče za večino uporabnikov, ali pa v očeh večine uporabnikov še bolj pomembna, tista, ki jih obvladujejo na en stran ameriška podjetja, ali pa če bi živeli v Aziji, recimo Kitajska. Tako da bom na začetku vprašal vsakega od mojih razpravljavcev, se pravi, to so Katja Koren-Ošlak, ki je ambasadorka projekta Codevik, doktorica Mojca Ciglarič iz Fakultete za računalništvo in informatiko, Tomas Tišlar iz Ministrstva za javno upravo in pa gospod Andrej Kositer, direktor podjetja Agenda. Pa me zanima za začetek, kje vsak od vas vidi dejansko te konkretne primere tega, bi rekel, zapiranja interneta, omejevanja nekega tega prostora ali pa te začetne ideje in koliko je to dejansko, da rečem, slabo ali pa omejujoče za tisto, kar tudi počnete nekako v življenju.
Ja, lep pozdrav. Jaz imam pravzaprav eno srečo v življenju, da se je moja, bom rekel, strokovna in pa profesionalna kariera ali pa tisti prvi koraki zgodili v času nastanka in pa spona interneta. Zato sem bil pravzaprav, bom rekel, živa priča temu, kako je internet nastajal, kako se je pojavil in tudi aktivni udeleženec. Bili smo eno izmed prvih podjetij, ki se je začelo ukvarjati z ponujanjem storitev internetnega dostopa. Že od vsega začetka smo pa zelo tesno sodelovali oziroma sodelovali pri nastajanju različne programske opreme, ki je nastala na internetu. Zato imam mogoče nekoliko bolj plastičen pogled v to, kako se je internet v 25 letih spremenil. Na začetku dejansko, na začetku je šlo za platformo, ki je bila popolnoma odprta, tako vsebinsko, kakor tehnično, obljubljala je enako participacijo, polno prepustnost vseh podatkov in omogočala je pravzaprav preseganje fizičnih in mentalnih meja, ki smo jih mogoče takrat imeli v glavi. Internet sam po sebi je že fenomen, ki se ga drži nekaj lastnosti, nekaj pridevnikov, odprtosti, inovativnosti, participacije, meritokracije in tako dalje. In na teh principih je nastal internet in na teh principih so nastali tudi nekateri drugi fenomeni, ki običajno z nekim predponom odprtosti. Sam internet je nastal na nekem sklopu standardov, ki so bili odprti, ki niso bili povezani z nobenim ponudnikom. To mu je omogočilo pravzaprav, da je povezal vse playerje na tem področju in tudi omogočil vstop novih. Zelo tesno s tem je povezan fenomen sodelovanja pri razvoju programske opreme. Ta programska oprema, ki poganja danes internet, je nastala v modelu sodelovanja oziroma odprtokodne skupnosti, ki je vse te gradnike, ki omogoča sploh to, da je internet začel delovati, razvila. Na to se veže en kup drugih fenomenov, ki so vezani na odprtost. Odprt hardware, odprte vsebine, odprti podatki, kar je danes zelo popularno, ampak internet v 90-ih, začetek interneta v 90-ih je omogočil vse to, kar danes pravzaprav uživamo in kar se nam zdi normalno. Na začetku je bil internet tudi zelo meritokratorno usmerjen, to se pravi, uspevali so dejavniki, playerji, sodelavci, ki so pač imeli neke zasluge za to, da so se nekatere stvari razvijale. Kot so že sogovorniki ugotovili, seveda v nekem trenutku so se vedno več v ta razvoj interneta začeli vključevati tako države, kako tudi velik kapital. To seveda ni nujno slabo, ampak prinaša pa nekatere zadrege. Če pogledamo internet danes, danes je internet tudi tistemu internetu v 90-ih nekaj popolnoma drugega. Odlikuje, ali pa bom rekel, odlikuje ga vpliv prvič kapitala, drugič državne, to se pravi politike, ki želi te stvari krojiti. Ne zavedamo pa se ob vprašanju recimo in varnosti in vsegajočega interneta, da ne gre samo za fenomen Internet of Things. Naslednja stopnja je Internet of Humans, kjer bomo pravzaprav mi sami postali del interneta. To je mogoče danes zelo utopično, ampak v prihodnosti bo to zelo hitro prišlo. Tako da jaz danes največji, se pravi, kot bom rekel sodobnik nastanka interneta v Sloveniji in kot podjetnik, vidim največjo grožnjo internetu pravzaprav v tem omejevanju in pri čemer bo najbolj trpela po mojem, vsaj poslovna, tehnična in kakršnakoli inovativnost. Obstajajo raziskave, ki govorijo o tem, da države uporabljajo različne pristope pri regulativi interneta. Ima se tako imenovane hard in pa soft rules. Hard rules so tiste, ki so bolj zakonsko utemeljene, zapovedujejo določene stvari, soft rules pa bolj temeljijo na nekem self-regulated principu. In dokazano je z raziskavami, da soft-regulated internet bistveno bolj spodbuja inovativnost kot pa hard-regulated internet. Bila je narejena raziskava na različnih državah v Evropi. Najbolj značilen primer je primer Danske in pa Nizozemske, kjer je Danska izrazito soft-regulated, Nizozemska pa izrazito hard-regulated. Učinek inovacij oziroma inovacije so merili z številom in rankingom mobilnih aplikacij, ki so jih domača, majhna in pa srednja podjetja razvila in so se uvrstila na različne portale. V primeru soft-regulated interneta je ta vpliv na inovativnost izredno visok. V primeru hard-regulated internetnega pristopa pa ni bilo zaznati neke višje, to se pravi povišane stopnje inovativnosti. Tako da, to je sicer samo eno merilo, ampak na isti način bi verjetno našli tudi vpliv na druge inovativne procese, ki uporabljajo internet kot platformo. Ključno vprašanje pri tem se mi pa zdi, ker imamo tu različne vplive, kot sem rekel, in kapitala, in politike in tako dalje. Vprašanje je, ali države, v našem primeru seveda Evropska skupnost, želi, zna in pa zmore iskati tisto vmesno pot med pozitivnimi lastnostmi oziroma pozitivnim vplivom velikega kapitala, ki prihaja na internet, želje po zbiranju podatkov, želje po trženju določenih storitev in interesov družbe po tem, da imamo vsi enak dostop do te storitve in da lahko v polni meri izrazimo svojo inovativnost, podjetniško inicijativo in tako dalje. Jaz mislim, da je to ključno vprašanje. Ali države želijo, znajo in zmorejo to regulirati?
Pozdravljeni. Ja, jaz mislim, da države zagotovo želijo, tudi zmorejo, mogoče še ne znajo. Ne znajo verjetno zaradi tega, če speljem zdaj vodo na svoj mlin. Jaz sem tukaj kot predstavnica ekipe, ki si prizadeva za dvig digitalne pismenosti. Zaradi tega, ker verjamemo, da brez digitalne pismenosti, brez informacijske pismenosti, medijske pismenosti, tudi internet ne more biti svoboden in uporabljen na tak način, kot je recimo gospod Kositer omenjal pred mano. Če je internet na začetku bil zelo odprt, zelo demokratičen, kjer je vsak imel svojo besedo, vsak imel dostop, razvilo se je en kup, kot smo slišali, ali pa kot veste, gotovo odprto kodnih rešitev. Potem jaz, ko sem se priključevala recimo internetu, smo že bili na začetkih tako imenovanega weba 2.0. Takrat so zadeve bile še vedno, se mi zdi, zelo dostopne. Zelo preprosto je bilo priti zraven z neko ekonomsko pobudo, gospodarsko pobudo, z državljansko pobudo. Zdaj, mogoče ena teza, kaj se je takrat spremenilo z orodji 2.0, da ljudje, ki so želeli udejstvovati, prisostvovati na internetu, naenkrat niso več potrebovali toliko znanja. Naenkrat pač ni bilo več treba razumeti, kako deluje infrastruktura, kako je internetno omrežje, kakva so pravila, kakvi so protokoli, ampak je bilo dovolj, da si, ne vem, poklikal par stvari na WordPressu in si imel spletno mesto postavljeno. Niti bilo treba razumeti, kako delujejo DNS-ji, zaradi tega, da si lahko pravilno usmeril svojo domeno in tako naprej. In mislim, da tu je bil recimo prvi tak korak navzdol. Pač. Tukaj mislim, da smo državljani, uporabniki interneta ostali korak zadaj. Ne? Industrija je sicer še vedno se dobro razvijala, ljudje, ki so imeli predvsem ekonomske interese, so lahko zelo dobro izkoristili platforme, državljani smo pa ostali korak zadaj. Se mi zdi, da danes smo pa mogoče še 3 korake zadaj za recimo industrijo, zaradi tega, ker smo pa postali ne več uporabniki, ampak samo zares smo postali samo targeti sporočil. Recimo, priljubljen primer je Facebook, v katerem pač predvidevam, da vas je večina v občinstvu.
Apologies for delays, ladies and gentlemen, we are on. In the audience, we are members of the state of Facebook. There's a marketing model in the background of this state, but technologies that compose Facebook, building Facebook, are focused to the fact of leading money to marketers' contents that we as citizens, readers read on Facebook, probably have no connection to the actual content that is relevant for our discussion, for us, for our state, for our society. Yes, and that is why it is of key importance to talk and think about the agendas of contents that are presented online. What is in the background? Matjaž and I discussed this topic before, so that we as the citizens can work on some initiatives like independence of internet. 2 years ago, when these discussions were heated in Slovenia, I was quite angry. I have a lot of well-educated acquaintances, but people said, why are you dealing with this question? You go online and find information. Yes, you do get information served to you. You can't find what you need. But I will stop here and move on. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm here to show you the view of academia. I come from the faculty, from the university, from slightly different environment, that entrepreneurial or commercial environment. But I was quite surprised what we heard from previous speakers, accessibilities of data online, and what you said. I remember how we first started using internet when I first had maternity leave. When I left to maternity leave, there was no internet. And now, after 1 year, when I came back, in between, they invented internet, and people asked me, you should have Netskin and Mosaic and so on. So, yes. Coming back to this academic view, our main job is dual. First one is teaching students, and other is doing research. Research is our personal process of gaining knowledge that we can process it and then transfer it to our students. And our desire is also to be part of wider environment and how we acquire knowledge. Before internet, before my maternity leave, we went to the library. Library has subscriptions for different magazines, and you browse the magazines and you bought books. And the process of gaining knowledge was expensive, difficult, and relatively inefficient. And in the first 10 or 15 years of internet, we established these scientific databases of knowledge, and everything was accessible through your computer, and everything was free. And in the next 10 years, internet got commercialized, and these libraries started closing. You had to subscribe, pay subscription, and now these subscriptions are becoming a heavy burden for even big universities like the Ljubljana University. It is difficult to access more expensive magazines, and that is what we feel. We don't have access to knowledge. However, technology allows us better access, better browsing, looking through with support of artificial intelligence to get what you really need. But we are limited with this financial access and access to information. That is a problem for me. If we feel it in academia, which is by its nature very open environment, I wonder what happens to individuals who don't have best foundation. So I believe that this digital divide is getting deeper and wider. This just for the introduction. I will have some other thoughts as well, but I believe we will come back. Thank you. Hello, also from my side. I was that lucky that I was growing up when internet was free, no regulation, unregulated. The biggest problem was the speed of your connection. Contents was available free, and you could access anything you wanted. And then later on, from year to year, all on the sudden, we got a boom. We developed e-commerce, and slowly the notion of e-commerce replacing physical stores and different applications came, and these modifications never stopped. I believe we will have more and more changes online. We will enter new era or new field of regulation. And although in Slovenia we are working hard to cut this regulation as much as possible, to have internet free, but it's difficult. There is a lot of interest. And there are interest in big platform, big corporations pushing their agendas, and it's understandable. This is economic logic in the background. Biggest, best are the first one, regulating. However, the market online should be endless, open, free. But at the same time, this brings new dimensions, new problems, web crime, digital divide between users, and digital divide also within the society. These are the problems that we have addressed within the discussions about internet. And if we focus Yes, let's stay here with regulation. Mr. Kositar mentioned the differences between strong and strict regulation and the loose one. And Slovenia was among those countries with a strong regulation of internet recently. And then probably we got European approach. How, in your public administration, we assessed the question, and what were the pressures, if there were some pressures from multinationals or interests of bigger EU countries adopting these new rules? Well, I wouldn't say that we had a strong regulation because we provided neutrality of internet. We opened the space most. We had regulation, clear regulation. However, it allowed equal position of all players. Looking from the view of companies, they would say this was a strong regulation because they had no free entrepreneurial initiatives. Yes. However, we protected final users. And we, all of us, working in economy, but still acting as individuals, as citizens. And essentially, we protected final users, consumers. I don't want to use this term, but still users of internet had the possibility, the neutrality that we fought till the end and finally lost it. What is important is the right of user to choose. If we have reduction of neutrality in the sense that big corporations pushed for in meetings with EU, nobody felt it directly, this pressure, but still the development with the monopoly of big platforms would push development back. But in Slovenia, we could not agree with that. We have small market, a lot of innovation, new startups that would be limited with this. And we advocated for online neutrality. And finally, you know what happened. With roaming, we slightly leveled the field. So the question now is who is the winner, final winner. But it is true that people, the majority of people, don't understand what the problem is, as you mentioned. If I can get visa and I had no other fees, why not? But it's okay. We will only have diesel. There will be no others, but this probably is not the right direction for innovative development. And as far as pressure is concerned, direct pressure, some corporations did not turn to us. Slovenia is a very small market, but we still had problems. They overlooked us in a number of areas. Monetization of our services and offers in Slovenia, they have to pay for their offering online or decided on platforms where you cannot sell your services. So from the side of the state, we had numerous discussions with Google, with their central in Warsaw in Poland, that they would take us on, but the market is so small. They are very kind every time. They say we will see what we do, but we are too small. Amazon has different elements, different problems. They say that legislation in Slovenia, anti-corruption or anti-money laundering legislation, they cannot come. It's prohibited for the company to report any dubious transactions, and that is the main reason why they are not coming to Slovenia unless we change the legislation on money laundering. So these are the comments. We have a replica here, but still one question for you. You mentioned before, if rules on neutrality would change, that this would be very bad. Any specific cases? You mentioned this zero rating. Are there any other or desires, or how did you envisage or plan for the future? What would be good, beneficial for our users? If now for the corporations to come and start extorting us, there was no such thing. Coming from the position that internet should be an open space, that I use this as an example. There are operators offering their services, nothing wrong. Classic example. What would happen now? As Mr. from ISOT already said, Internet of Things, that we would have millions and millions of sensors, and these sensors would send some data, and what you want from them to happen, if there would be a neutrality, it would be easy to find new business models. This is the question of business models, nothing else. This is the fight for domination on the market economy. That's the goal of economic endeavors. In any case, Internet of Things, I don't know if that's the best example. I just wanted to say it once again out loud, that not neutral Internet is not free Internet. Neutrality of Internet never meant repressing any free entrepreneurial initiatives. And this can be said by someone who doesn't know the question or doesn't know enough about liberties and rights, or someone who is keeping their hidden agenda. It is clear that big companies are putting pressure, using their leverage to achieve their goals, their agendas. That is why it is so important. The level of awareness in citizens what neutrality of Internet means, to raise it, to improve this part of information and communication literacy, so that all of us can fight and prevent worsening of the situation. In one sentence, if I can say, saying that everybody has equal opportunity, equal access, that is nonsense. Mr. Sterle in the audience asked for a comment. We have a microphone for the audience. If not, it's over here. Good morning, Peter Sterle, MIZ-Ash. We've discussed regulation, market, and how it is affected by regulation. Internet was made as open platform, unregulated space. What happened? We had big internet de facto monopols closing the opportunities for others. And if we have excessive regulation, there is no innovation, but monopols repress innovation as well. And I actually ask you a question. Would Internet survive as an open space without regulation? Mr. Kositer, can you? Yes, now I completely agree that this open space, neutrality of Internet, these are obvious things. I understand that probably final users don't understand what the essence of the question is, but that is why we have the state, to regulate these things for the benefit of society. But there are some influences probably not only affecting neutrality of Internet. We are discussing about abuse of Internet from the side of big corporations. The most extreme case worrying me much more than what we've heard, Diesel or some other service providers. This is online active thing. We have to deal with it, but still, the use of social networks. I don't know what you read, but in recent 2-3 US elections, highly intensive use of high quantities of data that they got from different social networks. In practice, that means that now we have companies that can obtain sources from different social networks and have data about 250 million of voters, specific people. They know how to divide this data to small groups of 20 to 25 people with similar, equal digital profiles. And they obtain this with different posts, likes in online. They see what your marital status is, what your political conviction is. They obtain this from hundreds of data from Facebook for 2 generations in the back. This is, the question is this entirely true? But this data is being used in big campaigns to serve completely fake information. This is connection to the right of information. For me, that you get a profile, I will come to Facebook and I will get specifically targeted election message without any content, without any connection to political agenda or any relevant content. It would address only my positive reaction, equal like any other commercial for milk or any other product. And this is what is worrying me. Very obvious things, obvious misuse, abuse of these technologies, data online. And I don't know how we can address this, but this is, for me, very essential problems, not those very obvious things. This problem is difficult to detect, to define, but it affects us in the society very seriously. Are there any questions or comments to regulation, anything like that? I would just comment my personal opinion to what was said. I'm happy that these things happen because the field of general democracy will start opening. Now, even if you turn off internet, everything happened all the years from the newspapers, radio, TV. They were launching what editors were writing and deciding on, and they were never online. Things happen, yes, artificial intelligence, finally you go to election, but still can vote as you wish. In no case, people ask, do people who were elected follow their promise and agenda? That never happened, but now, when we will get different information, a lot of diversity of information, now an open field of democracy can open 2.0 democracy field, open field. This is a sociological, politological question. Yes, perhaps I cannot agree entirely because usually voters are quite passive. Only small proportion of people actually think about information that they receive, are critical in their thinking, and sometimes question the information they receive. The majority of voters passively receive information, believe it, and then vote for the person that they like most. So I believe that is not still the case of open democracy. My comment, yes, personal. I see all the hands raised. Yes, we will turn to you soon. Perhaps the difference between how we trust or see reports or propaganda in printed media, media that people make and what is served by different algorithms that we don't know, artificial intelligence. A person we can decipher and see what is their hidden agenda in the background, what they operate or how they act, what is their background agenda, but for artificial intelligence it's difficult. Thank you, Gregor Blanterich. I would connect to the first part of collecting data in US to be critical, but still it's their tradition. They gather data even before internet. It's their tradition. To me, it's something normal. But here in EU, we have a different view. And that is why we would have to make a step into regulation. They would not do it because they are used to using that, and perhaps that's the difference of the approach of privacy and protection of private data, and what is considered private here and in US. Another question, Mr. Kossiter. If you compare what could be done in the old times, in business terms, what you could offer online in 1990s when it was quite open platform, and today, what is specific difference? What can you offer now to your buyers, to your clients? Are you limited now? Yes, of course. Situation is completely different. That was the pioneer era. People who were doing that, we were smaller companies, and in 25 years things changed. So definitely there is a difference. Looking back, we were dealing with some business things, how to present, how to allow basic contact, just transfer of information, and this was an enthusiastic era. What is possible, discovering what is possible. And then we promoted this entrepreneurial approach. Today things are very different. However, I still believe that industry or digital Slovenian industry today still, despite endless possibilities showing up on the market, and on some fields we are too late, but still the question is how much of added value this is for the society. Is digital Slovenian industry with some things achieved the benefits for the society? Today, what we feel are limitations not in the question of neutrality of internet. It is difficult to get funding still. When you talk to the colleagues, I visit regularly conference on cloud technologies, European cloud technologies, and there you meet companies operating in completely different environment, operating with dark fibers, and they are bigger companies, yes, bigger markets, but still, if you want to succeed in Slovenia, there is not a limitation. But if you want to target a global market, the speed of connection, suppliers of internet, that's the question. Another question for two participants coming from education sphere. Katja already mentioned that it is good to know how machines operate, the composition of services. So if actually today young people would know how computers operate, function, what is going on within your machines, that you now can no longer open and see what is going in, what is needed for the internet site to be operational. Would this support our knowledge that we should understand technologies and neutrality of internet. Yes, I believe that it would help a lot because we would no longer take things as granted as such. We would start thinking, if you imagine iPhone, the limitation of iPhone, applications through App Store, and the whole protocols definitely are very user-friendly and beneficial. But on the other side, it means that some super computer in your pocket can be used only in certain set things. If you want to do something on your own, you cannot do it. If you don't think about how things operate, how they are connected and composed, how an application is made and provided, then you are not disturbed by that. But if you have different experience, if you used to use computers and you would use Linux and you could adapt things to your needs, then you are burdened by iPhone and see what you cannot do, that you can actually do nothing with this phone. For the users, I believe this knowledge would be beneficial. Thank you. I would come around to this question. What you asked before, what is going on with our data, what is happening to our data, what are new services possible on the market. Today, you probably heard data are our new equation. Today, we have new space for services. We have a lot of different data, mega data, big data. What we can do, it's like oil. You first get the data, then you refine it, clean it up, and then you process it in a relevant way, and then they become useful. They become solid gold. And to me, it's great what we heard in the beginning, that it's like toothbrush will tell me that I am in danger of getting diabetes. For me, it sounds great if that would happen, that the toothbrush can process this data from my mouth. But we will have to be careful not to abuse this data. Use and abuse of data, these are very different terms. And I believe we have a problem here that officials, public officials, people who have no connection, no good knowledge about background, what is going on, how we gather data, who can access this data, how we process them, who can potentially access this data, and what are the possible consequences of misusing this data or abusing this data, using them contrary to what we want them to be used. And we need a lot of knowledge to do that. We not only technical knowledge is enough. We need a lot of awareness, a lot of knowledge how we can regulate access to data. It's not simple. You cannot do it with some safety or security policy in your company. Europe has the strictest legislation about access to data and availability of data. And these are restrictions set for internet, but with a purpose. They bring you a lot of obstacles and restrictions, but on the other side, they provide safety. And we need compromise here, but the foundation is that we need knowledge and understanding of what is going on in the background. And we should introduce this topic, these subjects, to primary school, learning and teaching our children, protecting your identity, your individuality, and this should be continued throughout high school as well. In technical high schools, we should have computer science course, and yes, we got back to the previous discussions. And we have a lot of raised hands. in the audience as well. Yes, as Mrs. Ziglerich said, teaching digital literacy, I would say in wider terms, like computer sciences, knowing technology is not enough if we don't reflect on this knowledge, what the space and internet brings to citizens, to users, to our social, political situation, and not teaching these subjects, not combining digital contents and computer sciences and digital literacy and sociology is not democratic. We should provide the knowledge. I believe we have Šifica, Barbara Roche, on topic of regulation and openness. When we talk about openness and regulation, it seems like we are on two opposite banks. One for total openness, no regulation, and other are afraid and want to regulate everything. But I believe that all of us, industry as well as technical society and civil society and state on the other side, our goal is the same, that internet should allow innovation, development, commercial operation, and safety on one side. And here I feel that nobody from individual sector, no stakeholder has a comprehensive knowledge. We all stand in our positions, and none of us has the full knowledge, full picture. That is why we should discuss it, because each one of us is bringing one part of the total knowledge, and that is how we get regulation that would be okay for all of us. And I agree that we need compromise here if we want things to operate, function well. I believe these are mutually excluding things. If you want to offer everything and protect data, that's mutually exclusive. Doman Češnik. Regulation is great. It's great to talk it, but until it comes to the small users, regulation is not important. Looking at the majority of databases, we have some cases when you left your data on laptop on the train. You can have million regulation as far as somebody can access this laptop. No regulation can protect you. We have IT said everything should be locked, and then a director comes and said, you have to do it. I have to plug in the USB and have access. We have millions of regulation, but finally we come to mindsets, what we need to protect and what we need to lock down. Yes, we have a replica here, yes, but if the director would know and hear from primary school on what that means, he would not ask you to do that. Yes, Tommy Dolins from Arnes. Great, I can connect to Katja and to Barbara what they said, and Doman as well, about education and regulation. I would say, as a person from technology, I had to develop my skill and become an amateur employer as well. Yes, when we talk about regulation, yes, we need a knowledge, this essential foundational knowledge. Without wide understanding, we cannot change the mindset of people, and we cannot move forward. How we saw internet as endless field of democracy and potential, we do have this potential, but our practical experience are more in line of what Mr. Fischler and Mrs. Ziegler said. Not only that people are passive, but tools, these great things that we produce, are becoming stronger in tools of manipulation and control. not tools for democracy. Why that happens? Just to compare, when we talk about potential and efficient use of nuclear energy, that's the question. Talking about education and providing information, that's a difficult task. Raising awareness, that's difficult. Changing mindset, that's difficult. If we see ourselves as open, we all advocate openness, everything should be open, but on the other side, there is a lot of negative things going on connected to openness. We are human society and we do need regulation. Are there shamans or state of law or do we have state monopolies? But we need some regulation. Just as humans, we need someone to follow. Anybody else? If I would connect to what you said and ask, since we see that things are moving in the direction that we have services that people like, closed down, but people like to use. And probably we could say that if everything would remain open and following the philosophy of open society, open community, we could avoid asking these questions. The solution would be that people would get more aware and we would regulate to a lesser extent, or coming back to the original principles. Yes, raising awareness, regulate, but be careful what we and how we regulate. We don't want to limit technology. We don't want to restrict domains and IPs and so on. That's not the point. The point is that we should see internet as platform, as the space where we communicate, do business, and we have to do this communication, business, policy, regulate these activities that we do online. Catalonian example, when they had the referendum recently, what happened? Total non-democratic scenario happened. Spanish came to the seat of the registration domain. Catalonian, it's probably not a national domain, because the registrar did not want to fulfill certain demands and restrict access to the information on the referendum. That's a very serious issue. It's like confiscating the whole issue of a newspaper because they printed an article that you don't like. That's the mistakes that happen on this level in regulating internet. Yes, I believe that we cannot go back. We have problems now here and we have to find solutions, not going back. We have to see what internet offers to us as society, individuals. The key problem is the balance between commercial interests, misuse, abuse of internet, and rights of users and welfare of society. And here, I won't say that this is up to the politicians and management. It's up to all of us. Some things are easy to regulate and we can regulate them quickly. Even if people don't understand it, it's easy to do. But there are other more subtle things, not only in technological, but with social connotation, with social consequences. And Europe started facing this questions in connection with these big global players acting as parts of this new global imperialism, but Europe is not most successful in this communication. We haven't found the right way to deal with these new business models, with these commercial initiatives. We have some parts of Europe very well protected. They have high prices, like in London and so on, but we have some other way bringing positive effects of new models, and on the other side, protect not taxi drivers, but society. We have to protect the society. We have to consider social implications. But in that case, it happened from the general enthusiasms, how we would get new cooperation, revolution, and so on. Slovenia was some of the things that, some of the countries that see this in this way. But on the other side, excessive restriction, that's the question. We have to find intermediate path, intermediate solutions. That is what I mentioned about election. The problem is not gathering data, but how we use this data, how we can abuse and misuse this data. And we need social dialogue on these topics. That is why we are here today, talking, discussing these issues. Yes, thank you. Another question from the audience? Probably. I just wanted to... I forgot what I meant to say, wanted to say, sorry, let me. Okay. Regulation is needed where we have some deviations happening. You probably agree if we would all act responsibly, users and providers, then we would need no regulation. That is why we need raising the awareness of users, empower the users in different ways, in different levels, in how they act online, what are their rights, responsibilities as well. They need to be responsible users. And of course, technical views and aspects, and that is important as well. And when we will have higher awareness, then we will need less regulation, obviously. But until then, I believe that there will be attempts of increasing regulation in different levels of internet, in services, at technical level. It's difficult to change it, luckily. But other things can be regulated. Free flow of data, what is now adopted at the EU Commission level, we will have problems in Slovenia. We are in favor of free flow of data, but at the same time, we advocate responsible use and protection of privacy of individuals. And here we will have to find balanced approach to this. We have a quite rigid constitution, restrictive in protecting our privacy, and at the same time, it is limiting to digital economy. We have to be aware of that, and something has to give here. In what direction we will move, we will see in the next half a year at the level of EU Commission and discussions with our member states. What will happen, we will see. But here we protect our privacy and causing problems to economy. That's the present situation, definitely. I wanted to comment that things are not black and white. Romantic internet 20 years ago, that's the white, and the black is the worst fears of abuse and misuse online. We always need some regulation to find the balance, to find this gray field, to allow continuity of use of internet, but we will always have black cases like the Catalonian one, and some new services that we cannot regulate in development of technology, business models, and how we live online as well. I believe we will still have to keep on with time and be responsive, active. Hello? I come from technical part of community. I travel a lot around the world, and two examples where things went very wrong, what happened. The first example is zero rating, Rwanda, Africa. And in both cases, we have innovative, how guys innovatively broke the system zero rating. Their biggest mobile operator made zero rating to Wikipedia. And what they done, those guys, pirates, found how to distribute movies and 4 gigabyte files, and they see if they hide in Wikipedia some sites very critically hidden and upload 3 to 4 gigabytes files, and at the same time create closed groups on Facebook sharing URLs and this data. At the same time, Rwanda and the whole country started downloading huge quantities of data from Wikipedia from free. The network of the operator collapsed, but they could not charge no transfer of data. And Wikipedia and Facebook, they are free. And that is what we discussed before in number of conferences. And I suggested, guys, I have a proposal for you, one app for zero rate, that's internet. Just send around the invoice, stop sending it around, and we will win, all of us. And another example is in Russia, they had a discussion. They had national company called Control, and their legislation says that the Moscow Control has a certain file where the all operators have to upload every day, download every day, and see what domains and addresses are listed in there, and resolve IP address and block IT addresses, access to these IT addresses. And then people became innovative and see that around those 60,000 domains that are no longer active, they could register them. And once they registered them, once they got control over these domains, they directed them, guided them to, if it was a bank, they directed it to the competitive bank system. And at the same time, all the operators blocked the access to the payment system, to police, to any state service, to any national service. And they blocked the operators, and they could no longer download files. So these are the examples of abuse, misuse. This is going on for 30 years, and now the state wants to regulate it all of a sudden. Internet, this is an example that I wanted to ask you about. What we discussed, that the users have to understand what is going on, that probably we as users don't have enough knowledge. And here we see that states don't understand or have poor knowledge and understanding. How can we trust our states? State officials, public officials, European Commission, how well do they understand what they regulate so that the regulation is good? Okay, thank you. Okay. I have to. That is why such meetings are important. That is why multi-stakeholder systems are important. And we have to be aware that internet is not nationalized. The position that we advocate for, multi-stakeholder model of managing internet, that's important. Nobody has all the knowledge, nobody has all the interests, and we have to come together. We know legislation, we know the systems, but the individual problems, we cannot know them unless we get the information from you, from your side, and that is where we want to move on in Slovenia into the future, to work with you. I believe in regulation, we are talking about protecting vulnerable groups. That's the main goal of legislation. That is what we want to achieve, not to limit access to information, but protect vulnerable groups. There are technical solutions that can be avoided and easily avoided, and we cannot prevent terrorists communicated online, but we have to be aware that we have to work and keep up with things. When you mentioned how long can the state be regulator of the internet? Yes, state is user as well. Ministries are users, and yes. And as providers, they are also the users as well. And when they regulate themselves as users as well. And they are affected as users as well. So when we openly talk to each other, when we learn from each other, then we have deeper insight and probably better results. Yes, again, one of the things that we have to consider in the future is that internet is no longer technological platform alone. It's a social dimension. We have to consider rights of citizens. And this is the dimension that is now coming into the forefront. We no longer are discussing only technological platform. We are discussing the way we live. Yes, probably this is one of the things that we still discuss internet as technology, as a network, but we use it daily in almost every part of our lives. We have two. One view from the operator's view, we believe that in my convention, this would be one of more regulated industries. Telecommunications are more regulated industries. And I believe that there is a lot of change in telecommunications going on through the history that includes history of internet and access to internet. And to lead to the words of Mrs. Denka on reality of internet, I find it important that when we look for balance between regulation and over-regulation, that we need to be specific. These are word connections that remind me of human rights, but they are very specifically set. That is really important when we discuss the discussions between civil society and industry. We should be more precise when we discuss different solutions, different access, what regulation online means, especially in Slovenia. We saw that state being very concerned about neutrality of internet, and from the view of operators, when we got 3 regulations, 3 decisions, new decisions that affect the users, but they all fell at the European Court. For the civil industry, for the civil society, that is important case, that our regulation fell at Court of Justice. Ksenia Furman-Yuk from IPES. I agree with the idea that raising awareness is important from early age on. That is why question for Mrs. Katja and Mrs. Mojca and Mr. Thomas. What do you see as the main obstacle from introducing these topics to kindergartens or primary school, how we can raise their awareness, and how do you compare knowledge in Slovenia with knowledge in other countries on the topic? The situation in Slovenia, we are at the average, good European average or poor average, talking about the level of literacy, digital literacy, composed of 6 different dimensions. So we are average. I believe that Slovenia has basic digitally literate between 17 and 34. 51% of our citizens are literate, according to the data from 2016. In Croatia, our neighboring country, their level is 53%. Looking on the other side, Luxembourg as the highest achiever of digital literacy, they had over 80%. And in member states at the back, they have Romania, Bulgaria, Italy as well. Romania, Bulgaria, Portugal around 30%. Italy, I believe 44% digital literacy. Well, in addition to these numbers, in Slovenia, we have a computer course in primary schools and in high schools, but it's very poor. There are some assessments that in primary schools, 10% of children come in contact with some type of digital education because it is provided within the class of computer sciences. It is it is a subject by choice, and it is offered only when they have a teacher available for this class, so it's not part of regular curricula. In practice, this means that we have differences between schools. Schools outside Ljubljana, there is practically no such courses. In high schools, I believe we have a mandatory class of 1 year of computers and informatics. As far as I talked to students, this 1 year course is similar to what I had, so that we got a knowledge of binary codes, and then we had to make a seminar. Not enough that we could call it basic education of digital literacy. Yes, I heard that we have some courses, but what is the problem? Is problem the money, or we don't have teachers? I don't believe we have a simple answer. This is highly complex question, and the answer is very complex as well. So let me highlight this from my view. As far as I know, the primary and secondary education system, in primary school, problem is that children are overburdened, that any additional course is additional burden for them, and that's the problem. The problem is how to get principals from different schools together and make this happen. Finnish model of primary school where they drastically cut the number of classes, the number of hours, and they have much better results compared to other European systems. So perhaps we should follow this Finnish system, Finnish approach. And this model have the space for practical application, practical use of computers, not to use computers to make something, to do something, to find something. That would be efficient learning. In high schools, the problem is the number of hours, even more serious. And we have to be aware of the wider context, looking at from the other view. We have different strategies, digital strategy, we want to be technologically innovative state. We have different strategies, but we need well-educated staff to do that. We need a lot of IT technicians, people who know informatics. Where will we get all this stuff? We have to train them. We have to educate them. It's not enough to write a strategy. We need everything supporting this strategy. Nominally, the Faculty of Computer Sciences, they have the same number of applicants like in 2008, but the need of this type of knowledge is increasing immensely, and they tell us produce more engineers. We cannot do that. So that's the problem, where something can be changed in the educational system, in politics. We need wider social consensus and awareness that we need more people with such knowledge, more general education, and at all level we need to learn more, know more, raise the awareness that the computer sciences, not only computer sciences, but technical professions have future, that they are diverse, interesting. We need to promote technical sciences, that there is no unemployment in this area, that they have relatively good salaries, that this is the future, this is the perspective for young people when they decide what they want to study and what they want to do as their future work. And this would then fulfill the conditions that this would bring new high school teachers who could then teach these subjects. We have some comments in the audience. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. I want to hear the comment from the state, even from the Ministry of Education, or if that's the problem. That only Ministry of Education decides what should be part of the curricula, but they should open their door and consider wider implications. And information society is, we cannot say that we will solve everything just the situation is highly complex, and the first problem that we have to solve, I believe, in recent years, we are becoming more aware, even at the top level of our politics, that information society, digitalization require different education, different society. It is important that in the time after the crisis, this field was set aside. The information society and technical sciences were affected by crisis, and there were no major importance or awareness of the importance of this field, and things now change. The operational program of financing different projects was written in those times of crisis, where we were not aware of huge importance of information societies. And all the projects that came and were financed from the pressure of the European Commission, from the European Union. And at the service level, at the level of raising some skills focused on information technology, on digitalization, nothing happened in years back. And we are now affected with this lack. And we have to catch up, we have to emphasize the importance, and it's difficult how I'm not the right person to answer how we can change curricula, how we can change primary education, but nothing happens overnight. In Finland, they are now teach people how to type, not how to write, mostly, but we need comparable European studies to show what approach brings best results. We work hard still. We encourage digital content and educational tools, new educational tools being introduced in schools and so on. I believe that all of us have our promotional materials in your folders. So what you see, you have the book with all the relevant content on digital literacy. There are a few questions. We only have 5 minutes of time. Okay. Yes. Unfortunately, yes, use the microphone, otherwise we cannot translate. Unfortunately, gentleman is not using the microphone. Peter Sterle, Ministry of Education, Science and Sport. The replica or in Slovenia, we are very good and are not that good. There is a mixture. We are very good in connecting schools. We established optics for all schools. A lot of investments were done in computer equipment. In next perspective, 40 million is allocated for computers and to improve the equipment. But in introducing the topic into curriculum, we are very slow. And another feature, in gender balance, it is difficult to get female students. We are here very far behind in gender balance. In English, can I comment? Yes, for me it would be easier to make a comment in English, okay?
One, you just reminded me about the educational system. I think that it's a crucial problem with the digital context that we introduce the contents with starting to learn numbers, binary, and stuff like that. And until you get to the application of the things that you're learning, pupils or students say, get out of here, I'm not interested in this. I don't know why I need it. And maybe that is one answer to the question why we don't have many women in tech, but never mind. So I think that just as we start introducing learning about the nature, with first learning about animals and stuff like that, not with organs in them, maybe we should start introducing the applicative part of the information technologies. This is one remark on the educational system. And another remark is about the regulation. I think that what I miss in this debate is the other side, the accountability part. So one is you regulate things, then also what you regulate and in what context, because trust on the internet is really fine. It's not like the traditional notion of trust we know from the traditional world, right? So we have to have some kind of mechanisms to protect ourselves, like encryption and stuff like that. So if you see military around now, you will not feel safe, although their purpose is to make you safe. So what we regulate is very important, but there has to be some kind of regulation for people to have trust on the internet. Then, what was my question? Yeah, regulation.
Accountability.
Yeah, so the accountability. What are those who break the rules accountable for, and who they respond to? That's also very important for people to know, so that they feel safe, so that they know that regulation is really in place because someone will be responsible for it. Okay, that's my remark. This is what I miss in the debate.
Thank you. Andrej Jerman Blažić. I have a lot of history of working in this area. I want just to point out one thing. It was interesting to listen to Frederick. The majority of his deliberation, he focused on threats, on danger, on vulnerability of information society, and what it brings, or internet brings, to all of us globally. I just want to point out the history. We ended with Echelon. Open Wikipedia, read it. I had to read the history of internet to understand what is going on and how destructive things can be in digital or communication world. It is clear that this brought a lot of benefits. Whatever I'm interested in, I ask Uncle Google about anything, or Madam Wikipedia. Or on the other side, because I read all other things, I am very careful. I have open Facebook, but I don't use it much because of the dangers. Coming back to the notion or to the warning that we need higher awareness. In early process, we need to prepare the users, make them aware to protect themselves. No regulation can replace that. Don't misunderstand me. Today's title is a bit misleading. You are discussing about law, but the main problem is how to use it safely ourselves. Just for the example, we have a road network for communication, for transport. However, all of us need what? Driving license. And what we need is we need to know how to drive. We need to master the skill of driving. I believe you mentioned that as well. Not to make ourselves and not to put ourselves and others in danger. And we have some rules of driving. With our vehicle, we can damage a person or property. That is why we have a register of vehicles to manage the road network. In this context, I am happy that my grandchild is taught basic traffic safety in kindergarten. And they know how to cross the road. They are taught how to act on the road. And what I miss here is regulation from the state of how we preserve our safety ourselves, how we can become responsible for our own safety in traffic and online. If we don't educate aware users, we need to know how to use. Technology is not important. You learn how to use the computer, but how to remain safe, that is the question. I believe I said enough, and all of you know what can happen with monopoles, with hackers, and then we have pirates as well. And I will ask Frederick later on to tell us more about that. Draw has been done. You know how a lot of areas electricity is online. There is no communication. How can police or government or firemen save us? Are we aware? How far have we got by connecting everything on e-communication? Unfortunately, we will have to use signaling, light signals, if this communication system fails in e-disturbance, or we have to protest. Yes, I believe we have someone in the back, and Tomasz, and then we will have to wrap up. Yes, thank you. Very interesting timing. Yesterday, I was at the primary school, and I had a status meeting with the principal and few of operators, where we completed the first phase of introducing computer equipment to one of the schools in Ljubljana. And we don't have the best equipped schools in Ljubljana, but outside Ljubljana, there are schools in rural areas with great equipment. And in the first phase of our project that we completed yesterday successfully, preparing the materials as well, that would not happen without some companies in Slovenia. I won't mention them, but without these companies, a lot of investment into schools would not happen. And that is why I want to tell you that I jumped around ministries and all around public institutions asking for some funds, but without sponsors, nothing would happen in schools. Without private funding. 5 minutes behind, but still, one more comment. I will connect back to Mrs. Zigleric when you said that we need good stuff. We are forgetting something. We are part of EU and part of connected world. A lot of people work for foreign companies online, but Slovenian companies are not allowed to employ these people under same conditions. Our regulation forgets that we are part of global market. I can work for American companies as an individual and or as an entrepreneur, but Slovenian company cannot employ a foreign citizen under same terms. Germany is very strong looking for stuff around Europe and is taking a lot of people from Slovenia as well, offering better condition, better salaries, and that is where we are behind as well. 25-year-old person is not that nationally aware that would pass such great opportunity on global market. Very good understanding of the situation. I understand what you said, but we had another poor literacy in these 25-year-olds who don't understand what is gross salary, net salary, what is the social insurance or health insurance. That is not only up to digital literacy, that is a systemic problem. They will follow the money. That's the case. Yes, but yes, in long run, they would need social insurance as well, social security benefits and so on. What are the conclusions? I draw some simple conclusions of the discussion on technology and internet. Let me reorganize. As the first conclusion, I would suggest that including internet is the foundation for social and economic innovation. Closing internet threatens general progress. Do you agree? Is a danger of general progress? Yes. Okay, adopted. Then we discussed knowledge, and the second conclusion would be knowledge and education in the field of information technologies is one of preconditions for preservation of open and inclusive internet, and that mostly educational systems have an important role to play. You agree? No comment? Is it adopted? Yes? Yes, there is a consensus of a sort. Educational systems, national educational systems, and different educational projects as well. Then we discussed regulation. Regulation was a hot topic of our discussion, and the decision. Internet is still very unregulated technological platform with huge monopols occurring. To provide open and all-inclusive internet, we would need to provide certain level of regulation to prevent these monopols. And fourth conclusion, connected to safety. Providing safe use of internet is part or factor of open and inclusive internet. These are my conclusions. We have the break. Only Mr. Riesman. Okay, I just wanted to tell you that during this section we prepared bags with materials outside for all of you. Book on programming by Pasadena. And please get those bags, and that's it. Thank you, all four of you.